Well, it's been a pretty quiet 4th of July and beginning of summer in Still River. The fireworks went off without a hitch. There were no cancellations, and the fireworks at the Still River Mall went off without a hitch, even though the weather wasn't too great that night. It was kind of hazy, overcast, and humid. And way back, summer of change, or of no change. Um, I would say around the summer of 1965, 66, Still River High School was quite a large high school for the area it served. It served a number of other little towns besides Still River. And I would say the student population was like 2,200, which was quite large back then. But the clash of change, uh, it was still pretty much like if you saw the movie Grease. There was still the parking lot, the student parking lot in Still River was like a muscle car racing pit. Uh, Everybody that was 16 had brand new Camaros, GTOs, 442s, Chevelles, hot engines. I don't know where everybody got money, but it was, the rolled cigarette pack rolled up in a t-shirt. It was still pretty much the greaser days, but changes were brewing. You also had the college-bound crowd, and they were the Beach Boyers with the Beach Boy music, and the muscle car guys were still the old rockabilly rock and roll, and but then you had the beginning of the change. Times were changing, and folk music was out, Bob Dylan was out, and hippiedom was beginning. And the changes started happening. I noticed it first down in the art rooms, the seat of change. And there were two main art teachers. There was Dick, who was like a kind of Andy Warhol alcoholic artist, an art teacher. And there was Judy, who was like a professional ballet dancer and painter, and she was very free form also. She ran a free form dance school. And it started down there. We started playing Rolling Stones music and psychedelic music. And there were some students down there that got a hold of LSD and read Timothy Leary and looking for new experiences. Then you had the Sunday partying beer and marijuana crowd. You had to go over to the New York State line to get beer because the drinking age in Still River was 21. About 5 miles over the line in New York State, it was 18. And there would be like beer runs over the line. There's a lot of nightclubs right over the line for the college kids, and those who were 18 could go over there and drink. And there was a lot of bands playing. It turned into kind of a garage band city. And this is when the Beatles started to morph from the early Beatles, stage one Beatles, to the stage two Rubber Soul type. And things began to change. And Still River started to get infected by hippiedom and folkdom. And, well, I noticed the change, what happened years later. I never forgot this story. There was a captain of the high school football team. He was like the perennial captain of all high school football teams. Of course, his girlfriend was blonde, and she was the captain of the cheerleading team. Now, these two were like the picture perfect Barbie and what was Barbie's boyfriend's name? Dick, or I can't even remember. Ed, Fred. They were like the stars. You know, they were the upper crust. And I was kind of like in the invisible, nondescript, long hair section, kind of bouncing from the art room to the parking lot and back to the art room again. And I never got my picture in the yearbook because we never knew what year I was going to graduate, if at all. And we were kind of in our own little group. And you had the artsy group. And some of the artwork, I remember coming back years later to the art rooms as a substitute teacher, and the psychedelic murals were still up on the wall. I can remember who was painting them and everything, and the whole era came back. You know, this was like 3 or 4 years before Woodstock happened. And, well, back to the change. Years later, this is kind of a sad story. Barbie and Fred went off to their Ivy League schools. You know, it was like on their scholarships, which they really didn't need, because I think the captain of the football team's father was the president of the Still River Savings Bank, and the captain of the cheerleading team's mother was the principal of of an elementary school in Still River. And years later, when I was in college, around 1971 or 72, you know, the kind of hippiedom era became a little bit passé. You still wore the long hair. Bell bottoms started to go out. And music changed again. You had groups like Yes and the Eagles and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Rod Stewart. And I was working on the radio station still at the university, and went over to a house to pick up some records from another fellow who worked at the station. He lived in like a dorm house a couple blocks away, and I went upstairs to get the records, and there was a fellow there looking at records. He looked really burnt out and really strung out, and he's like, you know, hey man, hey, what are you doing, man? And it was like I was looking for some Seals and Crofts album, and he says, oh, hey, come on upstairs, I'll play you some cool stuff, some Molly Hatchin, some really, he was like strung out on heroin. And And I looked at him, and it was the former captain of the football team. And he was living in the attic, and barely living. And a few years later, I found out he had died of an overdose, and that his girlfriend years ago had left him soon after Woodstock, and she went out to California and disappeared. And Summer of Change, Still River, many years ago.